Después de haber hablado con David Silverman, les dejo la entrevista acá arriba, conversé con otro productor de Los Simpsons, en este caso el showrunner actual, Al Jean, que también es el creador de El Crítico, pero de eso hablaremos más adelante. Con él conversamos de cosas que tienen que ver con historias de algunos capítulos históricos, como el capítulo del monorriel, la aparición de Encías Sangrantes Murphy y su posterior muerte, cómo llegaron a Michael Jackson, cómo llegaron a Banksy y cómo fue, por ejemplo, trabajar con Julian Assange, un montón, pero un montón de cosas en este informe sobre Los Simpsons, conversando nada más y nada menos que con Al Jean.
We now return to Mira Akien and Contre with our latest interview.
I think it's an amazing result of the show being so phenomenally popular when people who are adults now were children. So they find that there's this common, shared reference guide to The Simpsons that they can, say like old man yells a cloud and they all know what that means. And, the fact that you can post memes and pictures of The Simpsons freely, helps it too. It's bizarre. I never would have thought, I actually really did get a Valentine when I was in third grade that said, I choose you. Never would have I dreamt that it would be like a huge thing in 2020.
Entonces voy a hacer esto. Voy a mostrarles mi idea. Les presento al monorriel de Springfield.
We were hiring the first time that people had left the show, Jake Hogan and Wooly Wolodarski. And the person we brought in was Conan O'Brien, who we knew from the Harvard Lampoon. And he had always been interested in disaster movies and monorail transportation. And so we had this idea where Springfield gets a monorail, and it's a satire of the Music Man, where it's just sort of a scam to try to make money.
¿Cómo dije? Monorriel. ¿Cómo se llama?
Monorriel.
Sí, señor, monorriel.
We said, well, it's a good idea, but don't pitch it first. We don't know if Jim Brooks will like it. And he had 3 pitches. He pitched it last. Jim loved it, and we made the episode. And people now think it's one of the best episodes ever made. I don't know, but it was a lot of fun to work on. And yeah, I did work on the songs, which again are based on the Music Man. And one of the big thrills was we couldn't get George Takei of Star Trek because he worked on a local transportation board and didn't want to make fun of monorails. So we wound up getting Leonard Nimoy.
What about this? My mission here is complete. I don't know, we have it in Spanish, maybe the translation is different, but the idea is the same.
Ya cumplí mi misión aquí.
¿De qué misión está hablando? Usted no hizo nada.
Ah, no.
I pitched him saying my work is done, and then
Yeah.
I forget someone else said, but they had Barney say you didn't do anything. And then there was a big controversy in the room because he actually disappeared, like a Star Trek character, and it was us suddenly leaving reality in a regular show the way we hadn't before. Sam Simon wasn't too happy about that joke, but we left it in, and I think people really like it.
¿Quién eres?
Hola, soy Michael Jackson de los Jackson.
Soy Homero Simpson de los Simpsons.
Well, it was written for Michael Jackson, and Jim Brooks had the idea that this guy thought he was Michael Jackson, and he had the voice of the real Michael Jackson. Michael did come and recorded it, and it was funny. It isn't seen now, but it was something that we, worked really hard on, and I thought it was a very funny episode.
How did you think of him? Of getting Michael, how hard was to reach him, for instance, to be a part of the show?
Well, as I understood it, he called Jim and said he wanted to write a #1 song for Bart Simpson. And then Jim asked if he would like to appear in an episode, and he said, okay. And then Jim had the idea and asked Mike Reese and myself to write it. So I believe he actually came to us, is the way it happened.
We both found what we were looking for.
You also wrote the first time that Bleeding Gums appeared in the show. Can you tell me who inspired this character, and why did you choose to kill him?
Well, there were a couple of reasons for both. We had seen the actor Ron Taylor on a show called Wise Guy, and he was a great character. And Sam and Matt had this idea that Lisa meets a blues musician when she's sad. So we thought that guy would be great to do the character. The name I came up with was a satire of Blind Lemon Jefferson. Just Bleeding Gums is like a much smaller problem to have for a blues musician.
No quiero que te vayas.
Tengo que hacerlo. Adiós, Lisa.
Adiós.
the reason that we killed him was because we hadn't at that point done an episode where a main character died on the show, and we couldn't have somebody die who was a regular like Grandpa. It would be too big a change. So we thought, well, here's a character that is beloved, but isn't on that much, and it would be someone that would be logical, that you could at least could experience death through the character. So that's why we picked him. And sadly, the actor died not long after. So we, yeah, I mean, you know, we haven't had the character back except as a dream or a fantasy.
No, qué demonios, otra vez desde arriba, ¿eh?
Well, you had the Mufasa moment as the Lion King where he appears after that. So, did you like actually think of killing Grandpa instead of leading Gams? Or this was an example that you think of?
Well, when Mike and I were talking about the idea, I thought it would be an interesting story to have The Simpsons, this is season 7 or whatever, deal with death. But as I say, you know, there's a lot of pushback to killing a character that you use almost weekly, or, you know, somebody like Grandpa who's in the show all the time. And it's been pointed out, you know, you don't want to do that because then suddenly people go, oh, those are the episodes after Grandpa died, and it's a different show. So, you know, we had Homer's mother die, also somebody that wasn't in the show very frequently, but it was somebody that it would make sense, and, you know, would be a death that would have an emotional resonance.
Ay, ¿quién es esa chica?
Ay, no sé.
Why do birds suddenly appear?
What inspired the story between the two of them? How did you like pick maybe anecdotes of yourself or the staff writers? How did you build this love story?
Well, the idea that Homer couldn't get a date to the prom was based on me, like that prom picture where it's just him. That came from the heart. We wrote that with the late Sam Simon, and Jim had wanted to do an episode showing how Homer met Marge, because the characters were created by Matt, and, you know, we'd started the show up and done a season and a half, but we hadn't really shown how the characters met, where they came from, who they were. It was a real blank slate. So that was the first one where we started to define them. There was a big debate in that episode where Brad Bird was a consultant saying, don't make it a specific year, which we did. So they were in the class of 1974, because obviously now, if they were in the class of 1974, that would make them about 64 years old, which they're not.
Yeah.
So we just kind of ignore now current events when we're, you know, doing flashback episodes. Animation, one reason it lasts so long is because it's evergreen, because, you know, kids come and watch the show, and it's the same show that people watched 25 years ago. You didn't see Bugs Bunny get older, or Mickey Mouse. And, you know, we've shown episodes where the Simpsons are older or younger, but I don't think you need to change the basic template. I think that would, you know, that would be for another series.
No puedo responder. Verán, siempre que sostengo una radiografía, lo hago en esta forma. Mi pulgar debió cubrir el crayón cada vez.
You know, it's funny. I did write the episode, and I did want to do a parody of Flowers for Algernon, where Homer got smarter. In my original draft, there's actually a medical treatment that made him smarter. George Meyer pitched the idea that the crayon lodged in his head and turned him from someone who was naturally smart to naturally stupid. And I didn't know what I thought of that idea. I still don't.
You reached Michael Jackson, but there are two characters that are really hard to track. One of them is Banksy, that I spoke with David Silverman, and he told me that you were the one that proposed him as an artist, a guest artist for the show. Can you tell me how you get in touch with him?
Yeah, we had seen this movie, Exits at the Gift Shop, my wife and I, and afterwards I thought, wouldn't it be funny if Banksy graffitied the Simpsons credits? And so we contacted the producer of his movie, and I never met Banksy. Banksy could be a woman or a multiple group of people, but through email we got the spot and, you know, launched it on People by Surprise, and I was very happy with it. There were only 2 changes I requested, and I showed it to Matt Groening, who said, let's try to do it the way Banksy wrote it. One was there was a picture of Rupert Murdoch that I said just take the picture out, and then the other was he wanted the unicorn to die at the end, and I said just let it have a little hope. Those are the only changes I asked for.
How you doing, Mr. Assange?
That's my personal information, and you have no right to know about it.
And the other one is Julian Assange. That's a tricky person to reach and to have.
Yes.
Voicing a character. He did it over the phone, is that correct?
Yeah, I didn't meet him personally. I think he was in the embassy at the time. He did it over his phone, and it's the Simpsons tracks everybody down. We're better than the CIA.
Yeah.
Since
I was talking with Alex Sulkin, he's the showrunner of Family Guy, and he told me that they can't do shows about Star Wars now, for instance, because they are part of Disney. Did anything change for you?
Really, no. Very little. There were a couple of minor adjustments, but they wanted us to be what we were. I mean, they bought us for a reason. So I've been very happy with the experience and creatively felt the same.
Yeah. Well, and what about a movie? I was reading that you were thinking, you don't have a date, but maybe you are thinking of a new movie with Disney as a studio. What can you tell me about that?
Well, the thing about another movie is you probably heard that the Pixar feature Soul is going straight to Disney Plus. So there's kind of a bottleneck in terms of release of movies and animated movies as well. So I don't think that we would start on it until we were sure we could go out into theaters, and I don't know when that is now. So it would be a while. Yeah,
but do you have any ideas or like maybe a short plot of what we are going to see in that movie?
We have like a half an idea.
And what is that? Can you like tease it a little?
No, it's way too early to tell.